Hi there, welcome back to my channel. My name is Monica of Million Monica over on Poshmark, where I'm a full-time seller. And today, due to popular demand and or just lots of common questions, I am here with another Q&A video. This is my second Q&A video. So if you are at all interested in reselling in Poshmark and selling your clothing online to get some extra money, please go ahead and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. And of course, give this video a thumbs up. That helps me know that I should make more content like this here on YouTube. And so I'm here to answer some of your most common questions about Poshmark, about myself, about reselling, all of that. And I have 10 really common questions and a few kind of bigger topics that I want to kind of address. So let's dive in. I have my questions here. And most of these questions actually have come from YouTube. They're questions that I get here on this video. Sometimes I get some of these questions also over on Instagram. But yeah, so first of all, I think I missed this one in my 1 year reseller Q&A. And it was, how many hours do you work per week? And this actually is going to be a great segue into a couple of other questions, so I wanted to start with it. And ultimately, as a full-time reseller, I work 60 plus hours a week. And maybe you've heard other resellers say that they barely work 40 or they don't have to put in much time. Great for them. I'm happy for them, but that's not how it works for me. I definitely work close to 10-hour days Monday through Friday. And then on the weekend, I am definitely working probably a good another 10 hours just on the weekend. Some weeks are going to be more and some weeks are going to be less depending on what, is going on in my life. But I would say on average at least 60. And in that 60, I include all things. So that includes sourcing, driving to sourcing. Like this morning, I had to drive a little over an hour to get to the bins location that I was going to. And then I spent several hours just sourcing. Now I'm spending time creating YouTube content. That is all work to me. So that includes driving to the post office. I don't schedule pickups because I've had a lot of inconsistency with getting my packages picked up. So, 30 minutes a day is spent driving to the post office Monday through Saturday. There's shipping, there's steaming, there's photographing, there's measuring, any other cleaning that needs to be done, pre-packaging, listing, and of course sharing. And I'm also here on YouTube. So that is all included into my 60 plus hours a week. With that said, someone else had asked, what is the minimum amount to be considered full-time? Well, that's going to vary per person. Maybe you are, a mom with a couple kids at home and, maybe your job is to be home with the kids, but also resell to earn extra income for your family. I would consider that full-time. You maybe are helping pay your bills. I know when I was teaching, teaching was my full-time job and Poshmark was just like a side hustle. But now Poshmark for me is what I need to pay my bills. And so I need to work X amount of hours that I need to work to pay those bills. And so to me, that is full-time. Maybe that'll vary per person. So, and the next question is, and I hope this is going to, again, kind of be answered by some of the previous questions, or at least the how many hours do you work, because I get a lot of requests on all my platforms. And I think when I was just on Poshmark, before there was Instagram, before there was YouTube, I actually still had these requests. So going back a few years, people would ask me hey, I really like blah, blah, blah about your closet. Can you help me with mine? And that's fine. But more recently, I'm getting requests and across all platforms, Poshmark, Instagram, and especially here on YouTube, where people are requesting or asking that I go to their closet and leave them feedback on their listings. This is so great. I am honored that you feel that I can give you some feedback, and I'm just here to kind of say and make this a public service announcement that if I give free feedback and take time out of the time I'm already working to give feedback on one person's closet, then I need to do it for everyone else. And honestly, I don't have time to do that for everyone who wants that service. But because so many people are asking, it's got me thinking. Maybe I should offer closet consultations for a paid, as a paid service. So I do appreciate that you're asking that, because it's getting my mind rolling. It's getting me thinking about how can I offer the service to people, make it worth their time, make it worth their money, so that you can get a really good experience. So you can take away valuable information and not just me leaving, a sentence or a statement on one of your listings on Poshmark. So this is something I'm definitely thinking about. I'm considering. I was a closet consultant at PoshFest 2019. I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed sitting down with people and getting to know more about the life and getting to know what their needs are, as well as like goals and their strengths. So this is definitely something that I my mind's working, and I'm trying to come up with a way that I can offer this as a service to you, but I'm not there yet. So hang in there, because I do want to provide you with that service. I just can't provide it for free for every single person. I hope that makes sense, and I hope that kind of clears that up. Okay, next. I've been getting asked this for a super long time, and I always answer this question when I get it, but I want it to be available to everyone here now, and that is, what camera do I use? And I use the camera, I think this is referring to what camera do I use to photograph items for my listings. And so I use the camera that I use for these videos, and that is my phone. And so I use Android. I am an Android girl, and I use the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus. So it is a little, it's over a year old at this point. When I first started using it, I was like blown away at how much the quality was so much better than my previous camera. And so they're just always getting better on these phones. And so that's what I use. It's easy, it's simple. I list from my phone, so it's just the easiest thing for me. But I know there are other ways of listing and doing that as well. Yeah, it's just super simple for me to just use my phone. Okay, this next question it was interesting, and it just kind of had me thinking, and maybe you're thinking about this or wondering this too. And it was kind of a question, but it was more of a statement. And so the question was about bundles. And so this person asked or said, I don't encourage bundles because, she said, or because she can sell each individual item for more, and she wasn't understanding why people would want bundle sales. And she wanted to know what she was missing. Personally, for me, I love bundles. I think I've always liked bundles. I've meant a higher dollar sale. But now, as someone who sells full time, keep in mind I have around 1,000 listings active in my closet at all times. For me, bundles are a great way to move older, stale inventory, items that have been sitting for quite a while. I love a good bundle when you've got maybe 2 or 3 older pieces and maybe a new piece. Then you're moving something new, and you're also moving some older items. So yeah, you're not going to get as much as maybe you would hope for on an individual one, but bundles don't make up that much a majority of my sales, that to have a couple bundles a week or a few bundles a week to move some older inventory, I think that's great. I do encourage them. I do encourage bundles, and I encourage them by bundling for buyers. And so when I see someone has gone through and maybe liked 2 to 5 items, if it's more than 5, I don't really encourage it, because that gets really heavy. But like if I see they've liked 2 to 5 items, I'll go into their closet and I'll share those items to them, to a bundle, and I'll send them a little message, and I'll offer them a discount. And that, to me, is encouraging a bundle sale. I enjoy doing that. Again, that moves inventory. I don't necessarily need to be a storage unit. And I guess also, if you don't, your closet, you know what you need to make on each item, you know what you've spent, If bundles are not great for you and your business model, don't encourage them. That's totally your choice. I like them. So that's my take on bundles. Okay, this next one I kind of talked about in my last video, but I want to cover it here in a Q&A because I do get asked this frequently, and it's, do you wash before listing? Yes and no. There are obviously items that you get that need to be washed, and I wash those. From the bins, I definitely wash more items from the bins than I do from a regular thrift store. But I also have a steamer. I don't have the Jiffy steamer. I just got a very large steamer off Amazon. I've had it for over a year and it continues to work for me. But everything does get steamed. So if I don't wash it, I steam it. And steaming does kill like 99, I think, percent of bacteria and germs. It's probably not really going to help too much with smell or odor, but there are definitely items that you can't wash. They're dry clean only. They're, maybe they're very a sensitive material. And my steamer has, let's see, it has like 4 different settings. So it has silk, wool, cotton, and linen. So it just gets like hotter as you go up. And I feel like I can steam those items that maybe are dry clean only and not damage it, whereas I wouldn't want to throw it in the washing machine. So I hope that makes sense. As far as like stained items, I will spot treat and wash them. Obviously, if something has an odor, I try to take care of the odor. So yeah, I don't wash everything, but I wash what needs to be washed and steam the rest. Hope that answers that question. How do you determine retail prices for Poshmark? So I think this is referring to, in Poshmark, when you're listing, there is a like retail price and then there's your listing price. And a lot of people get thrown off by this question, I think, at first, because you're like, oh, well, how much did this item cost? I don't want to say that I paid $5 for it at the thrift store, but maybe I need to put something there. I will say that a lot of times I'm lazy and maybe I'll just put 0 in there. I do that a lot for vintage because it is kind of hard to determine the retail cost of a vintage item, and so maybe I'll just put in 0 and then what I want from it. I don't feel like that's an issue. I do that a lot. But as far as like maybe you found a Coach bag and you can tell it's only a year or 2 old, and there's a style number in there. Google that style number, and more than likely Google is going to pull up that item. You're going to be able to get a similar item, and you're going to be able to get a retail like estimate in your mind of how much that item would cost, and then you can put that in the item like retail price category, and then you can put what you want for the item, maybe based on what you paid or maybe based on comps and what the resale value of it is. But yeah, a lot of times I go to Google. If it's something that's definitely a modern brand and a modern style, I'll either, if it has a style number, or I will search the style number, or maybe I'll just search their website for similar styles and looks to get a price. I know a lot of times Free People, for me, sometimes I find Free People with newer tags, and I've gotten a good sense of how Free People prices their items. Same with Anthropologie. I've been into Anthropologie stores, and I look at their price tags often enough that I have a pretty good idea of what they sell certain items at. And so I just kind of guesstimate. But that's just how I do it. Okay, so when modeling clothes, do you use a self-timer? Yes and no. So for the longest time, I used a little clicker, and I don't think, okay, this is like an example of a clicker. I don't actually use this one. There's several different ones. The one I love is actually upstairs, and I had lost it for a few weeks. And so what I did during the time that I lost my clicker is I did use a self-timer. I just set up my camera on my phone to take a photo every 5 seconds. And yeah, but otherwise, if I don't use a self-timer, I just use a clicker, very similar to this. And what I do is when I'm ready, I just hold it in my hand, kind of like so, and I snap the picture. The little clicker is like remote connected to an app on my phone, and I can just take a photo. And that works pretty well. Both are great options. I do both. I guess what I should say is I don't have someone else taking the photos for me. I am able to take them by myself. Uh, so yeah. And then how long have you been selling on Posh? So I think in my last video, I was primarily just talking about, you know, it was my 1 year anniversary of being full-time on Poshmark, but I'm actually been selling on Poshmark now for almost 3 years. And yeah, so I'm coming up on 3 years selling on Poshmark. So a year and a half or so of that time was just part-time on the side as a hobby, as a side hustle. And then I did decide to kind of ramp it up. I will link my other video up above and down below so that you can check out that other Q&A video to see more questions that you might have maybe answered in that video. But I talk a lot more about my process of going full-time and what that was like for me. So yes, definitely check out that video. But yeah, it's been about 3 years. And what advice would you give a new reseller? So I think this is great. And I have a few different things, of course, for advice for a new reseller. And that would be my first thing is you don't need the fancy equipment. So yes, I film on my phone. I use self-timers. I have a 1 ring light. I have the cheapest mannequin I could find on Amazon. I don't use fancy equipment, and I don't know. That's just kind of my take on it. I can sell online using the tools I have, and I think that's great. My next tip would be to start with items from your own closet. I know I started selling off my vintage items first, items that I knew I wasn't going to wear any longer. But now that Poshmark also has the ability or allows us to sell home goods, you can start not only with the items in your closet and your husband's or your kids, you can also start selling your own home goods. If you have decor that you're no longer using or your tastes have changed, sell it on Poshmark. That's just a great way to learn. It's a great way to experiment. And then take your earnings and go and reinvest in more inventory. I think that is great. And then one of my next biggest tips would be Google and YouTube are your friends. And I don't mean this in like a sarcastic way. I mean, if you're here already, if you're watching this video, you know that you're learning from watching videos. And I wish early on that I would have realized there was a community of resellers. I truly did not know that there was like an Instagram reseller community for almost a year after I started reselling. And I feel like I would have gotten so much value. I mean, I didn't even watch a YouTube video on reselling until after I'd been reselling for a year. And so I wish I would have known early on, because I feel like I could have learned so much faster instead of trying to learn everything on my own and experiment and mess up. It would have been nice to have been a part of the community earlier. And Google, just I was always Googling things but somehow never come across YouTube videos. And although you want to be careful and you don't have to listen and take every piece of advice you get, if you do have a question and you're not sure about something, don't be afraid to Google it. Don't be afraid to reach out, but it also can be frustrating waiting for someone to respond to you. So again, don't be afraid to use Google and reach out to people. And they're great tools for you to learn and grow your business. So that would be my advice. And of course, if you have any other or questions for me after watching this video, please leave them down below. I love doing these Q&A videos. I like answering your questions and giving you any, tips, advice that I can. And if you are still here, if you enjoyed this video, if you learned something new, please share it out on Instagram. And because that's how I learned about this community. I stumbled across someone on Instagram. They shared something else. I was like, wow, that's amazing. And then, I went down a rabbit hole and learned so much and was able to grow my business. So if you are learning, if you enjoyed this type of content, please share it out on Instagram so other people can find it. And of course, I'll reshare your story. So if you tag me. So anyway, I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.